Hi, Melody from Learning in Progress here, and thank you so much for tuning in to this week's Quick Teacher Tidbit. Today, we're going to focus on an online interactive platform called Nearpod. Now, those of you that have attended my webinars or seen any of my recorded webinars, you'll know I am a huge Nearpod fan. I use it daily in distance learning. I also have used it in the past, pre-COVID, in a normal, not socially distanced classroom. But I find that, especially with this year, it's absolutely crucial to still keep small group learning and to have an interactive, engaging lesson, even though we have to stay apart. So stay tuned, and I'm going to teach you how we can use Nearpod for quick intervention lessons. All right, so here I am in my Nearpod library, and you can see that I've organized my lessons. Now, these are the lessons that I've created, so I went ahead and put them in all different color-coded folders, and I will definitely be going over that in a future teacher tidbit. But for today, I want to just strictly go over how you can use Nearpod for a quick check for understanding or a quick intervention lesson. So at the end of the day, and I did this when I was completely distance learning, and now I'm a hybrid teacher. So in both cases, at the end of the day, I'm meeting with students who are learning at home. I use this tool, the Draw It feature, as a quick way for me to meet with students and review the daily math lesson. So all you do once you're in your Nearpod library is you go ahead and click Quick Launch. And here you have some different different types of activities that you can do kind of on the fly. So this is great in the moment teaching. So what I do is I just click Draw It. I don't even bother putting in a background image because I'm really using this as digital scratch paper for my students. So I'm going to do a quick launch. So now you can see here that there are different ways that you can share this lesson with your students. You can either get a link and send it to them. This is usually what I do. I usually get a link and I go ahead and post that on our daily schedule. So the kids are used to going to that schedule every day and just following the assignments in order. You can also post it to Google Classroom if you use Google Classroom with your students. There's Microsoft Teams, Remind, you can email it. There's a lot of different ways that you can get this to your students. The last thing I want to go over is that you can actually turn this into a Zoom meeting. Once you click Create Zoom Meeting, you will have one link that will open both the Nearpod lesson and the Zoom meeting for your students. So this, by far, in my opinion, if you're distance learning or a hybrid teacher, I highly, highly recommend using this feature. Once you've shared the link with your students, they're going to start to pop in to this Nearpod lesson. So for those of you who haven't used a live Nearpod lesson, in the corner, this is where you'll see the students that have actually joined. Now, for the purposes of this how-to video, I don't have any other students. It's just me and this Nearpod. But as your students start to log in, you will actually see their names starting to list here. Once they have logged in and you can see their name in the list of participants, you will also get some pop-ups here. So you'll see one square for each student. Now, what I like to do is I have the Zoom meeting open and I have Nearpod open. So I will either verbally tell my students a math problem that I want them to solve, or I can even type it into our Zoom chat. Once I do that, you can see the students either using the pen feature or they can use text to type in numbers and solve whatever problem you've given. So once students have logged in, I go ahead and I give them a math problem to solve. Now, I always start by giving all of my kids the same math problem, and I either tell them verbally on Zoom or I use the Zoom chat feature and so that they can see the actual problem. What's great about Nearpod is after I give them the problem, I will be able to see them solve it in real Time. So I can see them use the pen tool or the text tool to type in their problems, how they're solving it, or I can see them actually draw on the screen. Now, from there, what I like to do is once I see a student has successfully solved a problem, I then go back to Zoom, change the Zoom so that I'm only communicating with that student, and I'll give them a separate problem to solve. Let me show you that feature on Zoom. So here I have my chat feature on Zoom, and I want to point out these three dots. This is how you can decide who your students are able to chat with. So you can either turn it off so that the chat feature is disabled. You can make it host only, which is what I like to do during my intervention lessons, or you can have it be public. So if you want your students to share ideas with each other, so everyone has access to that chat. Now, the way I use this when I'm doing my Nearpod intervention is I select host only. From there, I will give the entire group one math problem to solve. I watch them solve it on Nearpod. And for the students that finish early, they get it right away, I will actually give them a separate problem so that each student is working on a different problem or they're progressing at their own pace. Usually, when I do these intervention lessons, I have 3 problems that range in difficulty. I'll start everyone with the easiest problem, and they'll progress at their own pace. Once a student has successfully finished all 3, I excuse them from the meeting, which further allows me to really target the students that need that extra support or that reteach. Thank you again for joining me, and make sure to come back next Tuesday for our next teacher tidbit.